The role of the number 2 goalkeeper changes depending on the size of the club. For the very biggest teams, such as the money and data poured into choosing a number 1, anyone brought in below is expected to sit tight, stay fit and enjoy their annual run out in the early rounds of the Carabao Cup. Further down the Premier League, there's also often the chance to displace a regular custodian if either form or fitness eventually work in your favour. The unfancied Jason Steele unseated Robert Sanchez at Brighton last season, largely because of his better work with the ball at his feet. But scale down the footballing pyramid to where every single penny counts, and the number 2 goalkeeper is slowly, quietly becoming a controversial topic in football. Men sign not to play second fiddle, but specifically to exploit a loophole in the rules by not playing at all. This is the rise of the fake number 2 goalkeeper. Daniel Gyollai is a former Hungarian under-21 goalkeeper. Now 26, he's just been released by National League side Maidenhead United. 10 years ago, a promising career lay in front of him. He moved to England from Hungary and signed for then Premier League club Stoke City. He began playing for their under-21 and under-18 sides, all the while earning caps for Hungary's international youth teams up to under-21 level. In 2016 and 2017, he was loaned to local non-league side Nantwich Town and played a total of 8 games there. In 2018, Stoke were relegated to the Championship. At this stage, Daniel is 21 and hasn't played a minute of senior football in the English Football League, and that's just 2 EFL trophy games on his CV. At the end of Stoke's first season in the Championship, they finished 16th, Daniel was released. Wigan signed him. He was named on the bench by the Laddiks 4 times in the 2019-20 season, but didn't play a single minute of football. Wigan released him and he signed for Peterborough in League One and was named their number 2 goalkeeper for the 2020-21 season. After 39 appearances on the bench for Posh, their number 1 goalkeeper Christy Pym picked up an injury. Finally, Daniel's big chance? No. Why? Because he is a fake number 2 goalkeeper. Instead of handing their young Hungarian number 2 his first ever minute of senior football, Peterborough chose to activate the EFL's emergency goalkeeper loan clause. This allows them to bring in a replacement goalkeeper with more experience on loan for 7 days because they had no professional goalkeepers available in the eyes of the EFL. Crucially, the EFL's definition of a professional goalkeeper is a goalkeeper, excluding any goalkeeper registered as a non-contract player, who's been named in the starting 11 on 5 or more occasions by any club or a Premier League club in any matches in the relevant league or first team cup competitions other than the EFL trophy. Emergency goalkeeper loans last a week but can be extended in weekly increments. At this stage, Daniel is 24 and has made 0 appearances in a professional league or cup game. The loophole meant he remained on Peterborough's bench, with Joe Bursick joining on emergency loan from, oh cruel irony, Stoke City. To make matters worse, Bursick is 3 years younger than Daniel and had played 15 games in League One via a loan to Doncaster that season. Bursick was actually recalled by Stoke that season during a goalkeeping crisis and played 10 further Championship games for them, a dizzying 25 senior games to his name, comfortably qualifying him as a professional goalkeeper in the eyes of the EFL. Football is cruel, and it got crueler for Daniel. That summer he was put on the transfer list by Peterborough and frozen out of the team, not even appearing on the bench. Then, just after Christmas, he was loaned to Maidenhead United in the National League. After 2 games, he signed permanently. At last, regular football, albeit in non-league. Things were going well until disaster struck in April this year when he sustained an ACL injury. It means he's unlikely to play football again until 2024. What's worse is the fact he will have to start without a club, as Maidenhead released him at the beginning of June. After all, what non-league club can afford to pay an injured player for 6 months? There are other examples of fake number 2s if you look closely. In 2021-22, Connor Ripley was signed for Salford from Preston on an emergency loan that was extended 4 times. He played 7 games for Salford and once in the FA Cup. Zach Gcock was the fake number 2 in this instance, and even more intriguing is that he was a loaned-in fake number 2, having been signed on loan by Salford for the season from Birmingham. Gcock returned to Birmingham towards the end of the 2021-22 season and played 2 first-team games, conceding 10 goals. Now 22, he has just 24 games on his CV, but only a handful of these are in the AFL. The rest are non-league appearances. You could argue he's miles off first-team football at any professional level and way behind where a 22-year-old keeper with his talent could be. Goalkeeping structure has changed. Fake number 2s are likely to become more common, while the emergency loan option exists. The clause is actually designed in theory to protect inexperienced young goalkeepers from being thrown in the deep end in the AFL, but it's also potentially taking crucial senior minutes away from slightly older goalkeepers like Daniel Gyollai and Zach Gcock. Host of the GK Union podcast, Matt Beale points out that incredibly, Grimsby didn't have a number 2 goalkeeper in their matchday squad for most of their games last season. Beale also predicts that soon, most League 1 and League 2 number 1 goalkeepers will be loaned in from the Premier League and Championship. In the Premier League, clubs will have a strong number 1, a strong number 2, and more recently a semi-strong and ultimately reliable number 3, he explains. High-profile examples of reliable number 3s this season include Manchester City's Scott Carson and Marcus Bettinelli at Chelsea. However, with less money naturally available in the 3rd and 4th tiers, less resources are forthcoming. As a result, the depth of a goalkeeping department is naturally compromised. Imagine the goalkeeping budget for a League 2 club is £2,500 a week. That club could sign 2 decent goalkeepers, one on £1,500 a week and the other on £1,000 a week, granting a certain level of assurance. Or they could exploit the emergency loan system, utilise a large share of the budget on a very strong number 1 and stick a fake number 2 on the bench. Low budgets plus pressure for results make this an increasing trend. Harry Eistedt is a goalkeeper who you could argue has finally escaped the limbo of the fake number 2 role. He was loaned to Barnsley from Luton this January, having played less than 5 EFL games in a very malnourished career. He turned 26 in March. Eistedt performed well at Barnsley, almost helping them seal promotion to the Championship via the playoffs, and was unofficial man of the match in the final versus Sheffield Wednesday, making an incredible save in extra time. But the Daniel Gyollais and Zach Geacox remain victims of the EFL's emergency loan rule. It's tough for goalkeepers like them to leave a club and gain valuable experience elsewhere, because the reality is their lack of experience can be an advantage to a club. It provides a certain veil of protection should the number 1 get injured during a game. But you can bet the next day the club will be calling the EFL to activate the emergency loan clause to protect their fake number 2 if their number 1 is going to be out for a number of games. Young goalkeepers are seeing out stopgap contracts and then being released for copycat successes. Sure, they've had involvement in a professional environment, but their CV boasts a big fat 0 next to professional appearances. What follows is an inevitable drop into non-league in a bid to start the journey again. But fail to perform at that level, or even worse, get injured, and the dream of professional football can quickly slip through a goalkeeper's hands.